Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be reviewing the new Chanel Water Fresh Complexion Touch Foundation, as well as the new Water Fresh Blush. So in this video, I am doing my full makeup look, so you're going to see both these products in action, as well as the Chanel Intense Healthy Glow eyeshadow palette that was released last year. And then I'm also using the Water Fresh tint in the shade Deep as a bronzer. So you're going to see this full makeup look in action. But usually what I do is I'll do the makeup look at first, and then I will go over my full review on these products at the end. I'm actually going to be doing my full review first, so then you can just kind of stay tuned to like the end of the video when I show the whole makeup look, just if you want to see the review first. So quickly, I'm going to go over these products and what Chanel says. So first is the Chanel Water Fresh Complexion Touch. First, I want to show you in comparison. This is the Water Fresh tint, so you can see the Water Fresh Complexion Touch is quite a bit smaller in its packaging. The Water Fresh tint contains 1 fluid ounce. This only contains 0.7 ounces. A little disappointing just because while this does have more pigmentation, it's not like a full coverage foundation. So I wish they still gave us the full fluid ounce. But anyways, it is what it is. So there's the comparison in size. You also get a little complexion brush, which is right here. This is supposed to be for like more pinpoint application. I feel like that's kind of useless. Doesn't really matter. And then in comparison, here is the Water Fresh tint with the Water Fresh blush. So you can see quite a bit smaller. This is 0.5 fluid ounces, so you get half the amount of product. So quickly going over the foundation, Chanel states this is a first of its kind versatile face makeup formula infused with ultra concentrated micro droplet pigments, a refreshing lightweight texture, and a formula that helps to keep the skin hydrated and protected all throughout the day. Customizable application, pinpoint concealing, or a perfecting veil of coverage for an incredibly flawless finish. And it says a natural flawless finish as well. So it also lists the composition in comparison to the Water Fresh tint. So in comparison to the Water Fresh tint, the Complexion Touch Foundation is 3 times more pigmented for a fuller coverage and a flawless makeup look. A lightweight gel texture composed of approximately 60% water for a unique cooling sensation. Antioxidant-rich ingredients including jasmine extract, which help to protect the skin from pollution and other environmental aggressors. A formula enriched in emollients such as tamarind extract, known for its hydrating properties, leaves skin visibly plump and delivers a fresh complexion that appears well rested. I want to say I completely agree with everything Chanel is saying about this foundation. I think these are insanely similar in the way they wear on the skin, how they feel on the skin, except this one just gives more coverage. Because it gives a bit more coverage, I feel like you need to be a little bit more careful with application. You can't apply it as like seamlessly and easy breezy as this because this doesn't have as much coverage. So with this, I would just say go in with a little bit of a sponge or a brush afterwards to get that really smooth effect. But I do feel that this actually applies best with fingertips. I applied it with a brush and a beauty blender. The beauty blender just absorbs a bit too much of the product because it is a water-based foundation. And the brush, I just don't, for some reason, I just don't love brushes. But for me, applying this with my fingers and then going over top just with a sponge just to melt everything in was the best way I got the best application. But I did find that this is very similar to the Water Fresh tint in the way it applied, how it held up. The longevity of this is so beautiful. I'm so excited about this foundation. I feel like this is probably going to be my new favorite foundation. Now, this isn't the most luxurious packaging, but that's okay. How it looks on the skin, it is so smoothing and so blurring because what I think about the Water Fresh tint is it does a lot for the texture of your skin. So it's not necessarily a foundation that adds a lot of coverage because this is a tint. It's not even a foundation, it's skin tint. So what it does for the texture of your skin is even better than what it does for like the coverage of your skin. But this does the same amazing thing that this does for the texture of your skin. So it smooths, it plumps, it blurs the skin, but it also adds that coverage aspect without it being heavy on the skin. This isn't heavy at all. This isn't cakey at all. It's not going to sit in any fine lines or anything. Like this hasn't settled anywhere. It looks so fresh and gives a beautiful glow, but it's not oily on the skin. I even feel like if you have drier skin, you probably don't need to set this foundation down. This lasted me all day long when I wore it each and every time that I tested it out. This is just beautiful. If you are someone with textured skin, I feel like this would be a beautiful foundation because it layers up beautifully. And while you do get a medium coverage, it's not insanely buildable. You're not going to get a full coverage, but you can get a medium coverage and then just go in with a pinpoint concealer and get that fuller coverage on areas where you need a bit of extra coverage. But this really does amazing things for the texture of your skin, and it feels so comfortable. It doesn't feel like I'm wearing a foundation. Sometimes at the end of 8 hours, you're gonna feel like, oh, I just wanna wash my face. I feel oily, I feel heavy, I feel not necessarily cakey, but sometimes you can just feel foundation at the end of the day. You can never feel the foundation when you wear this foundation. At least that is what I have found in my experience. I just think this foundation looks beautiful, and it adds a really fresh glow, but it's not dewy on the skin. It's not something I necessarily feel that you need to set down with powder. It just looks so stunning on the skin. It gives you a glow in all the right places, but it's definitely not mattifying in any way either. And like I said, it's not dewy, but it's also not a glowy foundation that's going to emphasize texture. It's really going to blur imperfections, and I think that's probably the most impressive thing. I'm just really excited about this foundation. So really happy with this. Again, you will see my application process when I get into the demo of this, but I really, really love this foundation. I'm really excited to keep testing it out, and I do want to say, usually when I do reviews, I like to be able to compare this foundation or foundations that I'm testing with other foundations. I literally have no other foundation I can compare it to except for the Water Fresh Tint. It is the exact same as the Water Fresh Tint, but just with more coverage. So I don't know if that's helpful at all because I can't really compare it to like my Dior foundations because it's so different. I can't even compare it to like my other Chanel foundations. Like the Sublimage L'Essence de Teint is my favorite foundation, but they're just so different in the texture of them that I can't really compare them. Like they're definitely not similar. If you have the Chanel Sublimage L'Essence de Teint, you can definitely afford to have this in your collection because they're completely different foundations, different textures, and they even sit on the skin a little bit differently, but this is just so beautiful, very smoothing. And then I want to discuss the Water Fresh Blush. This is another new release from Chanel. I decided to pick this up in the shade Intense Coral. So again, you can see on the skin, you can see that pigmentation is actually a lot stronger than I thought it would be. It's very liquidy. It's exactly the same as the Water Fresh Tint, but it gives you color. And don't be fooled because I saw a few swatches and I thought this would be a light pigmentation. This is not a light pigmentation. This is going to give you a lot of color payoff. And because it's so watery and a little bit goes a long way, for me, I did find this a little bit finicky to work with. Do not go in with a full pump of product. You will definitely regret that. I wish it was a little bit easier to dispense because it's really hard to only get like a pinch of product. And anyways, this is just going all over my hand now, but it's a little bit finicky to work with. So again, quickly, I'm going to go over what Chanel says about this. So this is an ultra lightweight moisturizing formula composed of 75% water and infused with micro droplets of pigment. Provides an instant fresh feeling and non-stop comfort. It blends seamlessly with the skin for a sheer weightless finish and delivers a flushed cheek look, as if you had spent a day in the great outdoors. A long-lasting, natural, healthy glow. A subtly flushed complexion all day long. 4 luminous shades ranging from the lightest to the most intense for a custom finish. So this says that it is sheer weightless finish. While it is weightless, it is not sheer. You get quite a lot of color, like I said, so you need to be really careful when you apply it. It does, now I will agree, where it adds a beautiful healthy glow. It does look like you've just gone outdoors, and it kind of looks like that flushed cheek effect when you've gone for a walk or you've worked out and your cheeks are quite flushed. It does give you that natural glow from within, or that natural kind of flushed effect from within. However, I do not think that it is sheer on the skin, and it is a little bit finicky to work with. If you're someone that really likes cream products, you might like having this. I just don't know how often I'm going to reach for it because I found it a little bit difficult to work with. Whenever I applied it, I always applied too much product. So it gave me a little bit, I don't want to say clown cheeks because you can sheer it out, but it is a little bit harder to work with because I just found that it doesn't set down very quick, but you had to be quick when you applied it back and forth because then you'd have too much pigment on one side. It just gives you a lot of color payoff with such a small amount of product that I do feel like you need to be careful with it. But I really like the effect I get. I just don't know how often I'm going to reach for this. If I want a very natural flush and I want something on the creamier side, because again, I don't really reach for cream blushes because they make my skin react. I will reach for this when I want to use a cream blush, but I'm just not sure how I feel about it yet. I feel like that's something I'm going to need to use for the next few months to really determine if I like it or not. But for now, I would just say to get the Water Fresh Complexion Touch, and I would probably hold off on the Water Fresh Blush unless you were really excited about this product and really wanted to get it. I think about all my makeup products, I'm probably going to reach more for my powder products, but I am excited to keep on using this because this really does look skin-like. It gives you a very natural flush. This is incredibly long-lasting. If you're looking for a cream blush that has insane longevity, this is the one for you because it does have great longevity. Just go in with the smallest amount of product. Do not apply a full pump. You want a very small amount of product. A little bit goes a long way with this one, but it is really beautiful. It gives a really nice flush. And I do really like the shade Intense Coral. I think it is pretty. But those are just my quick kind of initial thoughts on these products. I have been testing them out for a few days now. This is the winner in my books. If you are a fan of the Water Fresh tint, but you want something with a bit more coverage, this. If you want something with great longevity, this is fantastic. If you want something blurring and smoothing and just fantastic over textured skin, this is for you. Again, I've only been testing them out for 4 days, so I am going to continue to follow up. I'm going to continue to play with these products to determine my favorite ways to use them. I will keep you updated. I'm pretty sure you're going to be seeing this in a favorites video. That is for sure. But I'm going to get into the demonstration of these products and this full makeup look. If you have any questions about these products, please let me know down below and I will do my best to answer them. And let's just get straight into the demonstration. So just starting out with a bare face, I do want to mention I do have skincare on, and then on my lips I just applied the Dior Lip Maximizer just to give my lips some comfort while I have no makeup on. So let's just move straight into this new foundation. So this is the the Chanel Le Beige Water Fresh Complexion Touch. So I'm just going to move into application now. This is not a first impression. I have had this now for 4 days and I have tested it out in different ways, applying it on my skin. And actually right now is probably perfect for me to do a foundation test because if you guys don't know, I'm going through some health issues right now, and because of those, my skin is very, very reactive. So I do have some breakouts, especially on my jawline where I'm dealing with hormonal issues, especially. That's just making my skin react. Unfortunately, there is no kind of topical treatment I can do at this time because it is what is going on in my body that is reflecting on my skin. But I am just going to get started. I do want to show you. So when you dispense this product out, you do see that kind of gel texture, and you do see those pigments that are suspended throughout that gel texture. You can kind of just see the little beads of pigment. And it does feel similar to the Water Fresh tint, but it feels thicker in texture. So this definitely feels like a thicker consistency. So I'm just going to take that product that I applied to the back of my hand. Ideally, you don't want to apply this to the back of your hand because the back of your hand has pores and it will absorb that product. And I have found the best way to apply this is with fingertips. So I'm just going in and applying it onto my skin with fingers, starting off with one pump. Now this definitely doesn't feel as watery as the Water Fresh tint either. So with the Water Fresh tint, it almost feels like you have to apply the product really quickly because it's quite liquidy. This one, you can feel a bit of a thicker consistency to it. Not in a way that is like too thick on the skin, like it doesn't look heavy on the skin at all, but it's just not as watery as the Water Fresh tint. Now with that one light coverage, I don't really think I didn't really get that full product applied to my skin. But I get a nice light coverage. I still see skin texture showing through. I can still see some pigmentation and redness and all that stuff. So I'm gonna go in with an additional pump. Usually when I apply a normal foundation, I will apply about 2 pumps, 1 to 2 pumps of foundation, depending the coverage level. So I'm just gonna go in with another pump of this. Now let's talk about the shade quickly. I did get the shade B30. It is released, and I think I saw there was 12 different shades, at least in Canada. I think I probably should have got B40 just because this is a little bit too light for me, and with the summer coming up, B40 might have just been a little bit better. But I chose B30. It's a little bit too light, but I can work with it. So it does state on the website that application can be personalized based on the desired result. So you can use fingertips to kind of melt the product into your skin. And then for pinpoint concealing, apply with a fingertip to areas that require more coverage, such as the under eye contour. So I guess you essentially could use this as a concealer. Now, because I like to usually apply concealer before foundation, I did apply a little bit where I would apply under eye concealer, and it actually is sitting really nice in that area. It's not bunching up or anything. And because I do have a little bit of discoloration on my face, where I just have some pigmentation going on right now, I am going to try and use this. Okay, you can't really use it as a pinpoint concealer if you go in with your fingers. Your fingers are just a little bit too big to do that. Now, it is actually layering up on the skin quite nice. It's not adding like a full coverage, but it is giving me a little bit more coverage in those areas where maybe I require a bit more. But I would say if you just want a fuller coverage in certain areas, your best bet is just going to be going in with a fuller coverage concealer. Although this doesn't really add texture to the skin, even though I'm applying another layer, it doesn't look heavy in those areas, in my personal opinion. I think it still looks really nice. So some of my favorite things about this foundation that I have really noticed is that it is a very smoothing foundation. So if you have any pores or texture in the center of your face, it is just going to smooth over those areas. So it does a really great job of reducing and blurring that kind of texture in the front of your face. And because I do have more textured skin, because I am going through those health issues right now, it actually looks really good over those kind of issues. Like, it's not sitting on top of texture in a funny way. It doesn't look too heavy in those areas. It is sitting over top really nice. It is adding a more smoothing effect. So I feel like if you have textured skin, this would be a really, really beautiful option. It isn't sitting weird into the center of my forehead. It doesn't look heavy anywhere. It doesn't look cakey anywhere. This is absolutely beautiful. I am so excited about this foundation. And then from here, I am going to go in and just show you the rest of my makeup look. So I'm going to go in with the Sisley. This is the eye concealer with botanical extracts in the shade 2. I'm going to use this under my eye. Now, although I did get some nice coverage on my under eye area when I applied this, and it is sitting really beautifully, for me, I just want a little bit more coverage on my under eye area. But if you're going for like an everyday look, you might not need to use concealer, especially if you don't really have dark discoloration under there. So I'm just going to go blend that in, and that's all the concealer I need. So I did go in with about 2 pumps of this foundation, and I do feel like with 2 pumps, I get a medium coverage. I can still see freckles, a little bit of discoloration showing through. Because I'm going through those health issues, I can still see a little bit of redness poking through. So for that, I am not going to just layer upon layer with this foundation, because it is not going to cover up complete redness. If you do have like a blemish, you're going to want to go in with an actual concealer, because this won't cover those issues. Although it does a great job of being buildable and not adding texture to the skin, a lot of times when you go in with like layer upon layer of foundation, you're going to add a lot of texture and it's going to look heavy on the skin. But this retains that really skin-like quality where it lays very thinly on the skin. Because it is water-based, it just lays on the skin in such a thin texture that really looks like skin. But again, you still don't want to be layering up so many layers of it when you can just go in with a fuller coverage concealer. So I'm going to take the Clay de Peau. This is the concealer. And I'm just going to take a little bit of that and go into any areas where I have a little bit more redness, where I just want to cover up. Just because I want my skin, I still want to retain that skin-like property, but I just want a little bit more coverage in certain areas. And from here, I'm just going to do a super easy breezy eye look. So I'm just going to take you along. I thought I'd pull out the Chanel Le Beige. This is the Intense eyeshadow palette, the Healthy Glow natural eyeshadow palette in the shade Intense. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take this bronze shade up here, and I'm going to use that along the top lash line. I'm just going to push it along the top lash line, using it as a kind of eyeliner. I want to do a really simple eye. And then for the lid, I am taking my favorite color in this palette, which is this kind of coppery shade. It's a little bit of like a coppery bronze gold. It has all those tones. It's not too deep. It's not too warm. And I'm just applying this all over the lid. This is a perfect one and done eyeshadow shade. Definitely my favorite shade in this palette. And it just has a beautiful sheen. It doesn't have any intermittent shimmer. It just has a beautiful sheen to it. And then just to add a bit of interest, I'm going to take this lightest shade, and I'm just going to take it on my fingertip, just a little bit, just pat into that once, and I'm just going to take that on the center of the eye, just add a bit of brightness there. And then on the lower lash line, again, I'm taking that kind of gold coppery shade just with a little pencil brush, just sweeping it from outer corner inwards. For mascara, I just went in with my Dior 3D Lash Maximizer and Kjaer Weis I'm Possible Mascara. Now moving on to bronzer, I kind of wanted to keep things looking really fresh and natural and more on that just kind of natural glam side. So I'm going to use the Water Fresh tint in the shade Deep, and I'm going to use this as my bronzer today. So what I like to do with this product is apply it to the palm of my hand. You can use a brush if you choose. I'm just going to go in with a Beauty Blender sponge. I apply that to the palm of my hand and get that product onto the sponge. And then from here, I am just going to tap it into all the areas that I want bronze. So for me, that's like the forehead, my cheeks. I like to bring product, especially for a bronze look, across the nose. And this is such a beautiful, natural toned bronzer. I love using the Water Fresh tint as a bronzer. It just is so skin-like. So if you want that really skin-like bronzer that just melts into the skin, this is the product for you. And I just love that it has really great longevity as well, especially for more of like a liquid bronzer. It just melts into the skin and is going to stay this way all day long. I find this is a really great bronzer to use if you're like on vacation and just want something really easy, or if you want something that is going to be really long wearing, because once this is set on the skin, it never moves. That's why I really like the Water Fresh tint. So this is just a great option to buy this in a deeper shade and use it as a bronzer. Now time for the Chanel Water Fresh blush. So again, for some reason, I just assumed it would be like the foundation size. This is the Water Fresh tint. No, it's way smaller, but that makes sense because it's just a liquid blush, so you don't need as much product. Now, this to me is the product that I would be more hesitant about purchasing. So definitely watch some reviews before you purchase this one, because I feel like, yes, this is kind of a cool concept, having this in blush form. I feel like it's a product I'm not going to actually reach for quite often, so I'll just kind of show you that. But here is the packaging. I got the shade in Tense Coral, so you can just see it's a little mini guy. And I'm just going to go in, and again, these are kind of hard to control because you just get a lot of product at once. So for me, I found that fingers are not a great way to apply this because I ended up with way too much product. So again, for me, I just found the best way to apply this was with a Beauty Blender sponge. And I just dip into it lightly. I try to at least, even though that's a lot of pigment. And then I just kind of move back and forth between two blushes, dab that excess product on like a paper towel, because these are way more pigmented than I initially thought they would be. So you definitely don't need a whole pump of product. You only need a little bit of product. A little bit goes a long way with this. And because it is a liquid blush, I find it a little bit finicky to use. I just want to go ahead and say that. Now, I do like this more than a lot of cream blushes because this is water-based, so it's not going to aggravate my skin. A lot of cream blushes, unfortunately, have oils and those kind of ingredients in them, so they make my skin, I have really sensitive skin, so they make my skin break out and react. This doesn't do that, which is awesome. But it's just so pigmented, and you need to work fast because not that it's hard to work with or that it like sets right away. You have time to work with it before it sets, but it's just so pigmented that you have to work quickly because it can kind of get away from you. So again, this is just why I say it's a little bit finicky, because I went in with such a small amount of product, but I already feel like I've applied too much product. So what I'm just going to do is take a little bit of that foundation, and I'm going to, again, take my Beauty Blender, and I'm just going to go over top of that blush because for me, I feel like this gave me clown cheeks. So now I just need to go in and tame that product. While these do have quite a lot of pigment, they do look really skin-like if you apply the right amount of product to your skin because they are water-based, so they really melt into the skin and do look beautiful. So that is the blush on my cheeks. While it does give a beautiful flush, it really melts into the skin beautifully. For me, I don't really see that I'm going to be using this all that often just because it is a little bit more finicky. I have to be careful how I apply that product, and even though I have used this blush now 4 days in a row, it still went in with too much product because for some reason I just find it a little bit harder to control. And now from here, I'm just going to go in with a touch of highlighter. I'm going to use a Baked Gelée formula because that really melts into the skin. And with all these products, they're just really melting into the skin. They're really enhancing the skin. So I really wanted to use the Rêve de Camellia, but that is not available currently. But this highlighter is still available on the Chanel site, which was their spring collection from 2021. And this is the Pearl de Lumiere. So I'm just going to go in with a little bit of this just on the tops of my cheekbones, just to add a little bit of highlight to this look. Now let's talk about powder from here, because I feel like with this foundation, powder is actually completely optional. Currently, I feel like it is perfectly blurred. It is sitting on my skin beautifully. And I feel like if you have dry skin, you don't require a powder. This is, again, very similar to the Water Fresh tint. It gives me that same longevity aspect without setting this foundation down with a powder. If you have oily skin, you might want to go in with a little bit of powder to set everything down. Today I am going to go in with a little bit of powder just because with my health issues, I am breaking out a little bit more. So I am going to go in with the Chantecaille Perfect Blur Powder. And I'm going to take this is the Sonia G Master Face. And I literally just dip in a tiny bit of that powder. I wipe off that excess. And then I just stamp into the center of my face where I get any of those kind of texture, like any pores or anything. And this just completely blurs that area. And then I like to just go in my chin and where I added a little bit of that concealer. So I just go in those areas. I'm not going to powder all over my face because I don't think this foundation requires it. I think my skin still looks really healthy and fresh and beautiful. And then for lips, going to take the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Lip Cheat. Okay, that pencil just ran out, so I'm going to take a new one, and I'm just going to line and fill in my lips. And then on top, I'm just going to go in with the Chanel. This is the Rouge Coco Baume in the shade Dreamy White, so it's literally just like a white. This doesn't add, like you would think, a white pigment. It just adds a little bit of lightness. I just love what this does. It adds like this brightening effect to your lip liner and just makes things look even better. It adds this like very subtle sheen, so it just makes your lips look so beautiful. I love this product. So this is the final look using all Chanel products, using the new Les Beiges kind of water fresh products that they released. So I did want to kind of create a look using all these water fresh products just so you can see how beautiful that they are on the skin, how they give that skin-like effect. These are some of my favorite products. Really happy about this new foundation. I think for me, this is definitely worth the splurge. Now, I wish this was a full fluid ounce, but I guess you are getting more pigment in this product versus the Water Fresh tint, so you're going to require less of this product. But I don't feel like it's that high coverage where they should have given us the full ounce, because it's not like you're getting a super high coverage foundation from this product. No, you're getting medium coverage, but I think this is beautiful. It is so stunning on the skin. One of my new favorite foundations, especially because I do like to use this for every day, but it's just nice to have another option where I can get more coverage, but I can still use this for every day. It looks fresh, beautiful on the skin, really blurring. It's perfecting in a way where it's not adding any texture to your skin. It is perfecting where it's not adding too much coverage. It doesn't look makeup-y. It doesn't look cakey. If you suffer from textured skin, this would be a fantastic product because it just lays on the skin beautifully, smoothly, very healthy looking, very plump. Love this. The product I'm not too fond of is this one. I feel like if you're someone that really likes cream or liquid blushes, this would be great. If you're someone that really likes cream blushes, but you have sensitive kind of acne prone skin, this would be a great blush for you because it doesn't react on my sensitive skin. But I'm just not obsessed with it because I feel like it's finicky, and I feel like when you want a cream blush, sometimes you're looking for maybe really easy products. And while this does look really beautiful and really kind of like that kind of natural glam sort of look, where I wouldn't say it's quite a no makeup because this is adding pigment to your skin, but it is really fresh looking, it is really natural looking, but it is just a little bit more finicky to use. So those are just kind of my thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like this video if you like it, and I'll see you in my next video.